That is duck cooked to perfection. All right, folks, on today's video, I'm going to show you a primitive cooking technique that requires no pots, no pans, or other containers, and it allows you to keep all of the juices and fats in whatever it is you're cooking, and that is clay baking. Hold the comments on that. I know they're coming. So what clay baking is basically taking a ball of clay and wrapping some piece of food in it, whether it's a piece of meat, a potato, or whatever. We're going to encase this thing in clay, and then we're going to build up a fire, let it burn down to coals, and we're going to put that mass of clay and meat and potatoes or whatever you're going to put in there in the coals and bury it and just kind of let it bake. So to get this started, I'm just going to pluck this bird and keep the skin intact. You can see all that down under there. That's where your stuff for the sleeping bags comes from. Fantastic material for insulating. Now you might ask yourself, why go through all of this trouble when all you would have to do is roast this duck over the coals? And the primary reason is because when you do it that way, you lose a lot of those fats. And when you're eating only what you can find in the woods, those fats are very, very important. And as you'll see later on, clay baking allows you to keep all of that. So we got our duck plucked, we got our hole dug, we've got some kindling stuck down there and there. And now for my all-time favorite primitive fire starting method. All right, so I'm right here beside a pond that I just recently dug, so I've got just a pile of clay here just around the edge of this thing, but it's been kind of cold lately, and so the outside layer of this is frozen, so I'm just taking the outside, very top of it off, getting to some of the stuff that's a little softer underneath. This is a little bit dry because it's just been sitting out here all summer, but I'll add a little bit of water to it, make it so it's a little more malleable, and then I think we'll have some good stuff to work with to wrap up our duck. Probably let it warm up near the fire. So basically what I have is kind of a cob mix with the clay and the grass, and to get the grass really well integrated into it, I had to make the clay a little bit too wet, and so I'm just drying it back out a little bit. I want to get it to the consistency so that I can form it and just kind of roll it and pack it around that duck. More the consistency of what you'd want when you're making pottery. So while we're waiting on this cob mix to dry out a little bit, I want to just take and get all of the remaining down and little pin feathers off of this duck. The best way to do that is just to put it right on the fire. There you go. No more down. So you might notice I have not gutted this duck yet. I haven't opened it up at all. That's because I didn't want to get a bunch of ash and stuff in there while I was doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead make a little slit, open this duck up, take all the guts out. I'll throw the heart and liver back in there, and Cedar, little Cedar will have a snack. Yeah, oh, it'll be so good. So found a couple of half rotten and bird eaten little apples still on the tree, so we'll throw those in too. What the heck. They're pretty rough looking, but I think that's good enough. All right, so two things to take into consideration here. One is I put a really thick layer of clay around this duck, and so it's gonna take a lot of heat for quite a while to get in there, penetrate, and cook this thing. Number two is that the wood that I'm using is Douglas fir. It's relatively soft compared to a lot of the hardwoods that you would typically use for something like this. And so those coals just don't hold the heat. They don't last as long as a hardwood coal. And so I'm gonna build a fire up and maintain a fire around it and a little bit on top of it just to drive enough heat in there to cook this thing. If I was using something like oak or hickory or mesquite, something harder, denser, that has coals that last longer, this probably wouldn't be necessary. All right, so we're about half an hour or so into cooking this thing, and it's really solid in there. That ball of clay around the duck is super solid. So probably just gonna keep it going for another half an hour or so, and then we'll pull it out of there, break that thing open, and see what we got. So we're looking at just a little over an hour. I'm a little bit nervous, actually. I don't know what this thing's gonna look like, but we're gonna find out. So the bottom side here didn't get super hot. It's still, the clay's still pretty wet. Oh. Let's just stick it back on there for just a little bit and get that bottom hardened up. All right, moment of truth. Hot. All right, so it's hot. I'm not sure if it's cooked, but I think it is. But the thing with waterfowl is you really want it rare. If you overcook it, duck tends to taste kind of like overcooked liver. It's not very good. So we are gonna, oh, look at all those juices. That actually looks perfect in there. Hot, very hot. That is duck cooked to perfection. First bites, clay baked widgeon. I had to remember what kind of duck it was. That right there is mighty fine. Well, so I'm actually really impressed. I didn't expect, I don't really know what to expect. Never done this before, but it's very good.
Smells good.
It's very good. So Finn wouldn't lie to you. What do you think?
I think it's good.
I told you it was good. salt. Cedar approves. So what do you think about the mud-baked duck? Mud duck.
You can't taste the mud in it.
No.
Like I thought.
Finn said it was going to be raw and it was going to taste like mud.
Hey, no, I didn't say it was going to be raw. I said that doesn't look cooked. The skin just doesn't look cooked.
It's kind of like, it's almost steamed inside that clay.
Alright.
Or this one right there. There you go. And you get you another piece right there.
Cedar.
Cedar has a piece stuck on his nose.
I wasn't even looking when I threw that. And like,
There's some apples in there. You want an apple?
apple? What? That is a very soggy apple.
Mm-hmm. Got
no,
cooked.
thanks.
No?
No.
Oh, I think I about got the good off that one. All right, so that duck was cooked perfectly, and I don't know if I just got lucky or if it's just something to do with baking them in this clay, but I mean it was absolutely perfect. And you can see inside this thing, it's still moist inside. The leaves inside are still moist, and you can see how thick this was. It was probably, on most of it, was probably 1.5 inches or so thick. But like I said, this is the first time I've ever tried this, and it came out absolutely perfect. I cooked the duck for about an hour. I pulled it out. The bottom was still a little bit soft, and so I built the coals back up and set it on there for probably another 15 minutes or so, and then pulled it off, and you could see that it the way that it was done. So if you want it more done and you want to ruin your duck, cook it longer. If not, cook it for an hour and maybe have a little bit hotter coals on the bottom to start with. So definitely learned some stuff, had a good meal, and that was pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.